Live from the Widecast studios, it is another edition of Scott Wheeler's Airplay. This is episode number 39, Airplay, where we go behind the scenes to meet radio and TV personalities that you listen to or watch each and every day here in the Peoria area. I'm Scott Wheeler, and remember, we're airing live right now on Peoria Life's Facebook page and also their YouTube channel. You can see this episode and past episodes as well on those various platforms, as well as Peoria TV, Channel 17 on the i3 broadband system. And if you're on the go, don't forget Airplay is also on Apple Podcasts. Today, I'd like to introduce my guest.
No. Your guest today is you, Scott Wheeler. Hey, everybody, Greg Batton here. Greg Batton from the Greg and Dan Show. And Scott, you get to be the guest today.
I'm in the hot seat.
You're in the hot seat.
All
Let's
this
go.
Interrogation
I don't have any notes. I'm going to go. All my notes are right here, baby. All my notes are right here. Here we go. Good to see you, first of all.
Thank you for
and happy holidays and Merry Christmas and stuff.
Yes, you too.
All right. For folks who have known you for how many years in Peoria Market?
Since 1981 minus 1 year, so about 40 years.
Holy smokes, dude. I didn't think it was quite that long. Suburbs of Chicago is where you were born and raised?
Waukegan, Illinois. Waukegan. Northeast suburb.
Okay, you're in Waukegan. You're a regular high school guy. What did you go to Waukegan? West, okay. Yeah. Is there a radio station at your school?
Yep, not at the school, but in my hometown, WKRS. It was a daytime-only station, so this time of year, it would sign off like at 4:15 in the afternoon.
Wow.
There was nobody in the radio station at about 3
Holy
at that
smokes.
point.
And what was it? The news and talk or music or a combination of everything?
Right?
Yep. And when did you start working there? Did you start working there?
When I was
you were
15.
Kid? No kidding?
My mom used to have to drive me to work.
Wow.
It was weird.
If you stay long enough in this business, your kids will have to drive you to work. You got about 20, 30 more years, and one of your kids will take you.
Driving Mr. Wheeler.
Right. And so always wanted to do that? Grew up listening to the WLS and probably all that?
You got it. Yeah. Late at night, transistor radio under my pillow. In fact, once I was so enthralled with radio that I wore a hooded sweatshirt, a hoodie these days, to school. And I wired up a little earbud into my ear and listened to the radio all day while in class until the teacher said, why don't you take that hood off? I'm like,
because I'm listening to the Cubs?
Yeah.
Wow, dude, you invented the Walkman before anybody else did. That's fantastic. So you're hooked from the get-go.
Yeah.
Do you know you're going to perform on radio? I mean, is that in your head?
I've always been very introverted and shy, so it was hard for me to...
Is that true? Is that really true?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm surprised by that.
But I thought that would be a way to kind of climb out of myself and be somebody
and a little safer because you're in the studio, right?
And I had several people around me. My next door neighbor, who was a drama teacher at a high school, and a guy I went to church with, who both knew I was interested in that and really encouraged me to go to the...
Who was the drama teacher? What's that
Her name was Melba Wixom, and short story, Jerry Orbach, who was on Dirty Dancing and one of those cop shows. He's from Waukegan, and he went through her tutelage, and I got to kind of know him, not before he ever became a star.
Wow, no kidding.
And just being around her and those kind of people kind of gave me the bug.
It is interesting about that is I think all of us in our business, and maybe everybody's business, but in the radio business, there's one or two people that were key at a certain moment.
Yep.
And so she said, go do this, encourage you. You can do it. I know you can do it. Right?
Taught me how to write, which, as you know, is really important.
Right.
And then this other guy who was already doing radio kind of taught me the performance side of it.
What is that guy's name?
Bill DeVore.
And what happened to him?
He is still up in the Waukegan area, retired, and I saw him last year at a funeral, and we kind of reconnected.
That's cool.
He remembered all
That's
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so you're at Waukegan High School West, Waukegan West, and then you have to go to college, or you don't have to, but you're going to go to college. And I know you chose Bradley, but where else were you thinking?
looked at Syracuse and Michigan State.
Okay, because of radio?
Two both
big radio show.
Great communications programs. I mean, John Landecker went to Michigan State.
Right.
Who did we have on recently that went to Syracuse? Oh, our friend Lauren
Melendez.
Melendez. Yes.
Sure, yeah, she's Syracuse.
But what I was really looking for was a city that had a lot of radio stations in it, because I thought I could get a job in radio while going to college right away. And a better chance of that in Peoria, because, at the time there were 18, 19, 20 independently owned radio stations. So I chose Bradley because of Peoria's broadcasting environment, as opposed to Bradley itself. Now, I love Bradley, but that was the real reason.
Well, and what's interesting is that Peoria has been such a culturally, in radio anyway, culturally it's been a breeding ground for so many great talents. So, all right, you get down here, you're broadcast major or communications major, and then where do you go apply? Where do you start working?
I interviewed at two places, WIRL with Lee Malcolm, who, didn't really have anything, and KZ93. And I was one of
Who did you interview with?
A guy by the name of Charlie Quinn, who started
that
KZ93.
name. Yeah, I remember Charlie.
And I was like one of the only tapes, audition tapes that he actually got from somebody my age that was on the radio already. And what I did was, instead of sending him a tape of my current work, I pretended I was on KZ93 on my tape. So he got to hear what I would sound like if he hired me.
And did you already have the pipes that you have today, pretty much?
Yeah, in a Peter Brady sort of way.
Cracked every once in a while. Yeah. But for a younger person to have already some resonance, that's a big deal. So you start, and then you spend many, many years at KZ93, becoming the program director and afternoon personality and so on and so forth, with the likes of, Gary Olson was doing mornings, and Donna Davis was in there. Who else was?
Keith Edwards.
Keith Edwards.
Gene
Edwards.
Gene all Stern. Those guys, yeah.
When that period was happening, which was just on fire popular, it was a weird combination in my memory of great personalities and great radio music.
Yes.
It was a perfect combo.
It was kind of when MTV came out in the early 80s. Yeah. So MTV is happening. Pop music is in one of its upswings with Madonna, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, all those guys having huge success at top 40 radio and pop music. And between that and this video medium that was exposing this product visually, pop music was just in its up cycle at that point. And it goes through cycles.
Sure it does.
And the mid-'80s is kind of one of its times of just being really hot.
And so you graduated from Bradley when?
84.
84. So perfect. You're young. You're 22
right
or 3.
Yep. Thriller had just come out.
and if I in my memory banks, because I'm a little older than you, but in my memory banks, you guys were everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the day when radio stations appeared everywhere all the time, and that is exhausting.
Yeah.
Do you remember the vibe of all of that?
It was it was just something you did every day. And especially in the evenings and the summertime we were out in the summertime. 2 weeks at the Heart of Illinois Fair, concerts. We had stuff. I was talking to Nick Vlahos from the Journal Star the other day. He remembers the KZ93 card that we had, the keychains, the T-shirts, and it was about getting that stuff and going out and
it worked. And it worked because people wanted to be part of it. It was all part of the fun. So you do that. I don't want to. I'm skipping fast because there's a lot of resume here. So you do that until what year? When do you leave KZ93?
1986. 86. As you know, because you've done it too. Your goal, at least initially, is to get to a big market.
Right.
And I just, at one point, I was doing mornings and was really tired.
Right.
And I just kind of willy-nilly answered a couple of classified ads in a trade publication. Didn't know where I was applying. It was a blind ad.
Right.
And all of a sudden, this guy from Cleveland, Ohio calls me. That wasn't out on my radar at all. And, Cleveland had its reputation. Still kind of does, but it was market number 21 at the time, and I'm like, this is incredible.
This is a big opportunity.
I should have thought it through a little more, but we had a 8-month-old daughter. We jumped in the car and went. Got a speeding ticket on the way.
Nice.
Which should have told me something.
that was God telling you slow down just a little bit.
And in the course of that year I was there 1 year, the radio station sold 3 times, which back in that day never happened. I'm like, what is going on?
Wow.
What have I done?
So you're in Cleveland, you got a little baby, your wife Susie and you decide what?
Well, things were...
This isn't working out?
Well, the thing that occurred to me, I lived 18 miles from the radio station. I also now live 18 miles from work. In Cleveland, it would take me an hour and a half to drive those 18 miles. And in 1984 prices, or 86 prices, I was paying $9 an hour to park.
Wow. Holy smokes.
And I'm like... I'm making a lot more money, but I'm not.
We're maybe going backwards here. Wow.
And about the same time, had some new folks at KZ93 back in Peoria, and they had an opening, and they kind of heard things were going a little rough in Cleveland, and called me up and said, "You want to come back?" And I'm like, I think I'm going to turn my goal from jumping around radio stations in major markets to finding a place to raise a family. And I thought Peoria is the perfect place to do that. I'll come back.
Well, we're glad you did. My name's Greg Batton. This is Scott Wheeler. This is his show, but I'm hijacking it today because we need to talk about Scott's story. You've been listening to this guy for 40 years almost. So you come back, things are still cranking. It's the late 80s. That's when I first meet you, when I come to work in our building there at North University in Peoria. And then we go along for a while, and I do want to get to this part because I think this is the most interesting to me anyway. Then you decide one day that you're going to change your whole trajectory. And you go to work for WCIC, a Christian radio station here in Peoria, quite successful, very good group of people. Why did that happen? What was that?
It was a combination of two things, and it was definitely, sometimes I think God really speaks very softly, and sometimes he hits you over the head with a 2x4.
Which one was this?
It was a 2x4.
Really?
It really was. I was so burnt out at work. As you know, in 2000s now, radio stations are owned by one company, and there are multiple stations, and oftentimes you're a program director or an operations manager of many radio stations. So I had 4 or 5 on my plate at that time, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm getting older and wearing out a little bit. And it turns out an opening pops up at WCIC, which is very rare. The morning guy left, and I just kind of said to myself, is that where I'm supposed to go? Because I've always had a relationship with the Lord, but I couldn't put the pieces together. So I did what you should never do. I said, God, if this is meant to be, give me a sign.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
And sure enough.
Did you literally have that thought? Did you say it out loud?
I did. I was driving over the McCluggage Bridge, and I heard a song that talked about making a shift in your life and changing, and I thought, okay, that's probably just a coincidence. Get to work a little bit later that day. Horrible day. Rough day. End of the day, I'm like, God, if this is meant to be, the station manager from WCIC called my office.
Like right shortly after that?
That day, that night.
Wow.
When I'm just about to...
cash it in. You're done. Yeah.
He calls me up and says, I'm sure this is not even on your radar, but would you consider coming over here? And I'm like, oh, dude, let me tell you what's been going on in my life leading up to this phone call. And so, I thought, okay, you're giving me these gifts and talents. I feel like I should use them for you for a while. Yeah. And
what a
for
great
9 years.
story.
It was.
I know this because I'm your friend, that while you hosted the morning show or co-hosted the morning show over there, morning's not your favorite time of day.
No.
You alluded to it earlier, but now you're older. And you're driving in. And
First
all that
time
stuff.
I did it, I was 22. The second time I did it, I was mid-40s. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of difference there.
There's a lot of stuff going on. That is a beautiful story, and I'm glad that we had a chance to have you tell that, because I think a lot of us get in places where we don't know what to do next.
Right.
We don't literally have the call right after we say the prayer.
Yeah.
Not very often anyway.
Yeah.
So then you were there 9 years. Now we're in when? What year are we in now?
2015 is
2015.
when I left.
And did you leave to retire, or did you leave to just take a break? What did you leave for?
It was kind of take a break. The person I was hosting the show with, his husband had a transfer, and she decided to move back to her native land of Hawaii. And the thought of bringing in a new partner and starting that process all over again, and getting to know each other and building a show, it didn't thrill me. And it just felt like I had done what I was supposed to do.
Right.
You know, I programmed CIC for a while and helped them kind of get on track, and I just felt like it was time. So I said, I'm going to take a break and just kind of review my options.
And then the break leads to you coming back to work with me and all our gang
Right.
at that time, Alpha,
Right.
Alpha Media, and then now Midwest Communications. You come back and you're a part of WIRL again,
Right.
although you weren't, I guess, with Lee all those years prior. Right? So you're doing WIRL. And now I want to get to this, KZ 102.3. It's come full circle. You're back.
There's got to be some sort of thing here.
For folks who don't know, KZ 102.3 launched just a few days ago.
Yep.
It's retro hits. It's the music that you talked about, Madonna and Michael Jackson and all those guys from the mid to late 80s into the early 90s. It sounds awesome. You're back on the air hosting the afternoon.
Connective tissue.
You're the connective, man.
Old KZ93 and
it's cool. And so real quick, we got a couple minutes left. So that's happening. You must be thrilled with that, first of all.
I am thrilled.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike. It's like, man, I remember
back in
playing
it.
this. At the same time, it's like, okay, again, I was 22.
Let's review. Yeah. But I want to ask you a question about the big picture stuff, and that is the world of entertainment, our attention spans, all the ways that we can watch and listen and interact with things. It's way different than when you were 22.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're competing. You and I are competing in a lot of different ways. But culturally, we're also in a different place. What's your feelings about that? I know we got like 2 minutes to answer this giant question, but are we okay?
I think people are desperate for the comfort of a time that was happier. And without exception, everyone I've talked to who's checked out the new KZ 102.3 says,
Right.
thank you for taking me back to my youth
Right.
or my young, early 20s. And because life just seemed a little easier then and a little simpler, and it was comfortable, and this is just, in this divisive time, is bringing back that feeling.
Right.
So I think that's what's going to help make this work.
And I
the
think
90s right now are suddenly the decade that
yes,
we're
of
looking
course.
back at.
And I think, and trying it back to your spiritual connection with your prayer and the phone call, is that maybe this mission that you're on is just that. Bring joy back to some folks who think that joy has left them.
Right.
And if it's a Madonna song or Backstreet Boys or whoever it is, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but it's good.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It's all about putting a smile on someone's face.
Yeah,
It
just
always
smiling.
has been.
Yeah.
Encouraging them. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, this is your show, so I'll let you tie this up in a knot. But
Wow.
we just wanted to find out about you, man, and what you're doing.
Well-
and we didn't have near enough time, as you always say to everybody that's your guest on the show. So,
Well, thank you, Greg, and thanks to everyone who has watched Scott Wheeler's Airplay over the last 39 episodes. It has been fun. It has been a pleasure. Thank you as we wrap up this little series. Thank you also to my buddy Tim Johnson, who runs Widecast Studios. He has been a professional guiding hand through this whole process. And thanks to all my guests, too, over the last 39 episodes who have shared their inside story a little bit. And now I know how it feels.
yeah.
A little uncomfortable, but it's been great. And as Charles Osgood, radio extraordinaire guy from CBS, I'll see you on the radio. Bye-bye.
PeoriaLife.com.